Well, students, so this is our physics lecture with the next topic, that is chapter 12, atoms. Well, students, you have already known with the basic idea about the composition of matter and structure of matter that shapes the world. When it was subjected for the study, then we will reveal that the idea of atoms. So if you take any matter, that matter has got some proper shapes, proper size, whatever may be regular or irregular, but that shape and size of the matter is mainly because of it consisting of some indivisible and ultimate and invisible particle called as atoms. Remember here, the study of atom was first done by the person John Dalton, and there he called that if you subject a matter for the study, then we observe that the every matter consisting of an atoms which are invisible. So later on, after Dalton's atomic theory, at the end of 19th century, so almost in the year 1897, a person by name J.J. Thomson, he conducted one experiment. That experiment he carried with the water, an electrical discharge through some gases, and he has got some his own apparatus. So with the help of his apparatus, he was carried one experiment, that electric discharge through a gases, and thereby he found that this atom is consisting of some negatively charged particles called electrons. J.J. Thomson found from his experiment that the atoms are consisting with what? The negatively charged particles. We call them as cathode rays. And in your previous class you have studied about this cathode ray oscilloscope experiment, or that J.J. Thomson's experiment regarding cathode rays. That is quite basic to you people. So but anyhow, after Dalton's atomic theory, the next theory was, and remember Dalton's atomic theory was revealed the idea of the small invisible entity of that matter that we call as atom. But next this atom was subjected for further studies, and that study was carried by the person J.J. Thomson in the year 1897. So that experiment is also called as J.J. Thomson's cathode ray experiment. And you know that in the first year you have studied about J.J. Thomson's invention regarding electrons. So now after the Dalton's atomic theory, Thomson was revealed the idea of presence of some negatively charged particles in the atoms. And after the J.J. Thomson's experiment, and not only he revealed idea of presence of negatively charged particles of electron, but he said that the atoms are existing in neutral state. This is very important. Atoms are electrically neutral. So atoms are electrically neutral. So if this neutral condition is there, means the negatively charged particle invention was done by the person J.J. Thomson, that is electrons. So remember here, matter is existing in a stable condition. So matter has got some stable configuration. So why it is so? Because the negatively charge of electron is symmetrically balances with the positive charge of the atom. So then J.J. Thomson invention of electron was led to the invention of nucleus, and that invention of the nucleus was not done by the person J.J. Thomson. It was carried out by the another scientist by name Rutherford. That was carried by Rutherford's, that we call as Rutherford's nuclear atom model, or in general we call it as Rutherford's atomic model. Rutherford's atomic model. So later on we are going to study about detail about this, but in brief I am explaining in this introduction topic that what are the models that they have studied, what are the models that they have studied by different physicists, and how we have, which is our final atomic model. So today you know that atom means what? It is the one of the ultimate particle, and it consisting of electrons, okay, protons, and thereby electrons are revolving around the nucleus. So that atom visualization is there for you people. But remember, that's not a final visualization. There is a visualization of this structure of atom in quantum mechanics, that in quantum physics as particularly. So in quantum physics you have the detailed study about these atoms, and that quantum physics will give you the final this atomic model. But before that, what are the initiations, what are the milestones in the development of structure of atom means? First Dalton's theory, later on J.J. Thomson's theory. Before Dalton also there was a sage, Indian sage by name Kanadhara, and that Kanadhara was told about that the matter is consisting of small ultimate particles, so we call them as Paramanu. So that Parama means that's an ultimate, Anu means that's nothing but an small entity. So that theory of sage was copied by Dalton, and then later on J.J. Thomson, and then Rutherford's atomic model. So listen here, the first atomic model was J.J. Thomson's atomic model, and J.J. Thomson was finding about the negatively charged electrons which are present in an atom, and thereby he also said about the electrical neutral condition. So neutrality of the atom he explained. How? So he said that there must be a positive charge, and then the symmetrical balance between the positive and negative charge will take place, and the atoms are existing in neutral condition. So but J.J. Thomson's atomic model is not a finalized model because it failed. So what are the failures for J.J. Thomson's model means? It is unable to explain some of the spectral lines of hydrogen atom, and it is unable to satisfy some of the experimental results of Rutherford's atomic model. So because of that reason, J.J. Thomson's atomic model is not a finalized model, it also has got some limitations. Then Rutherford's atomic model came into the existence. So what is the Rutherford's atomic model? Listen here, J.J. Thomson atomic model was invented about the was the invention regarding the presence of negatively charged particles in an atom. So not only a negatively charged particles in an atom, even this theory will also give you an idea about positive charge. But how is that positive charge? Means that positive charge is throughout the volume of an atom. The positive charge of the atom is throughout the volume of an atom. Say this is an atom. This is one atom. Say positive charge of the atom is completely distributed throughout the volume of atom, where say just we can call it as pudding. Okay, so he called it as a pudding. You know that it is a sweet dish. So pudding. So on this pudding, the entire volume of this pudding, that is nothing but atom is filled with positive charge, where negative charges are just embedded on it. He told that the negative charge is embedded on it like a plums on a pudding. Like a plums. Plums means the garnished fruits on that pudding. So like that only, here electrons are like a plums, where positive charge is nothing but entire sweet dish, that is pudding. Okay, so hence we call J.J. Thomson's atomic model as sometimes plum pudding model. So this model we can also call it as plum pudding model. So why? This is the reason. Okay, J.J. Thomson revealed the idea of electrons, and he also told you about presence of positive charge, and that positive charge is throughout the volume of an atom. Okay, where electrons are embedded on this, thereby atom is symmetrically balanced with positive and negative charge, hence it is in neutral condition. But though also this theory has got limitation. Why it has got limitation? So because it is unable to explain about Rutherford's atomic model. So what is Rutherford's atomic model then? So we should go for Rutherford's atomic hypothesis. So Rutherford said that the positive charge of the atom is not throughout the volume of an atom. On what basis he is supposed to suggest this? So he did one experiment, that is a famous experiment, we call it as alpha particle scattering experiment. Alpha particle scattering experiment. With the help of that alpha particle scattering experiment, Rutherford said that positive identity of the atom is not throughout the volume of an atom. So that positive charge is concentrated tightly at the center. The positive charge is located at a very small portion of an atom. So it means not throughout the volume of an atom. So this was by J.J. Thomson. But Rutherford argued that the positive charge is only occupied the small portion of a volume of an atom, and electrons were revolving around that positively charged nucleus. Later on we call it as a nucleus. So here the positive charge entity of the atom is located at center, we call it as nucleus, and electrons were not embedded on it, they were situated at surrounding to this nucleus. Okay, and they were revolving, that electron is revolving. So this is exactly similar to the what our planetary motion, is it right? So this was the hypothesis. But though also Rutherford is not successfully about his atomic theory. So though also Rutherford failed his atomic theory. Why? Because he is unable to explain. So Rutherford's theory also has got some limitation. Why? Because it is unable to explain spectral series of atoms. So it is unable to explain about the spectral series of atoms. And later on, after the failure of Rutherford's atomic theory, the next atomic theory was came into the existence is Bohr's atomic theory. Bohr's atomic theory, he is unsuccessful to explain about origin of spectral lines. But remember, it is not explained the spectrum of all the atoms. So it will only explain about the spectrum of hydrogen and hydrogen-like atoms. This is also one of the demerit of this theory. So what is that? Niels Bohr's theory. So that Niels Bohr theory is explaining, is overcoming with all the demerits of this Dalton's, J.J. Thomson's, okay, and Rutherford's. But though also Bohr's theory failed. Bohr's theory failed. Bohr's theory failed. Why that theory is failed? Because it is unable to explain the spectrum due to complex molecule. So spectrum of complex molecules or atoms, it is only able to explain about the spectrum of hydrogen atom. So hence Bohr's theory also failed because of these limitations. And next, after the Bohr's theory, the next one was Sommerfeld's theory. So Sommerfeld's atomic theory or Sommerfeld's relativistic atomic theory. But though also that theory also has got limitations, and even that Sommerfeld's relativistic theory also unable to predict some of the hypothesis dealt with atoms. And then finally, then which theory is accepted as a final atomic theory in physics, as particularly in modern physics, that is vector atom model. So vector atom model. So that is vector atom, that is vector atom model is nothing but the what? A final atomic theory. So that is vector atom theory or vector atom model is the final atomic theory. So this vector atom model will be there in higher classes. If you go for degree level and PG level, at the time you are going to study about this vector atom model. And remember here, so we are taking, while explaining this vector atom model, about principal quantum numbers, we take about spin, that spin quantum number, angular momentum quantum number. So with the help of that, we are going to explain about this vector atom model, but that's not there for your syllabus. So till now what I explained, it is a quite basic background how atomic hypothesis has been started from person to person, that's from physicist to physicist, and what are the difficulties they have faced and how these difficulties are overcome, and what was the final theory. So regarding that I told you. So now you tell me which is the final atomic theory means, that is vector atom model. So vector atom model is nothing but the what? A final theory. So now I would like to start the chapter. So and another one thing, in this chapter we are going to study in detail about two atomic theories. So one is Rutherford's atomic theory and another one is Rutherford's atomic theory, another one is Bohr's theory. So Bohr's theory we are going to study. So first we would like to start this chapter with one experiment. So that experiment is carried by the physicist Rutherford, and we call that experiment as alpha particle scattering experiment. So therefore our topic will begins from right now, that is with the concept of alpha particle alpha particle scattering experiment. So in order to study this experiment we require some experimental arrangement, and this experimental arrangement was done by the person Ernst Rutherford. So that I would like to draw here, just you can go through this. You take down this experimental diagram in your book. Yes, students, this is the experimental arrangement which was done by the person Ernst Rutherford. See, this experimental arrangement is consisting of one lead cavity. So inside this lead cavity, a source is placed, and what kind of source it is? It is a radioactive source. You know that. What do you mean by radioactive? Means some of the elements which exist in this nature, they are spontaneously disintegrating. They are spontaneously undergoing their disintegration, that is decaying. So such elements we call as radioactive elements, and remember, those elements during their decay, they will emit the energy. So that energy will be either their decay of proton, either their decay of that electrons. So that regarding decay of radioactive elements you are going to study in the next coming chapter, that is in nuclei, regarding alpha decay, beta decay, gamma decay, like that. So listen here, I am using a source, a radioactive source, that is bismuth 83-214, a radioactive source it is. It undergoing spontaneous disintegration and it is emitting an alpha particle. So alpha particle means that is nothing but bismuth is emitting a helium nucleus particle only. So here such bismuth source is kept inside the lead cavity in order to avoid the outflow of this radiation to the surrounding, and only some small hole is made across this lead cavity, and through that alpha particles will enter through the lead slits in order to make it as a very narrow beam. So instead of allowing the alpha particles from all direction, so in order to make them a collimated narrow beam, they are made to allow through this lead slits. And listen here, the energy associated with the alpha particle will be 5.5 MeV. You know already about electron volt. What is electron volt? 1 electron volt is nothing but the what? The energy gained by the electron when it is accelerated under a potential difference of 1 volt. In the same way, here energy associated with the emitted alpha particle is 5.5 MeV. Such energetic alpha particles which are made a collimated narrow beam by allowing through the lead slits, and thereafter they made to incident on this gold foil. And remember, the gold foil of thickness is 2.1 into 10 power minus 7. The thickness of the gold foil they have maintained in this experiment is 2.1 into 10 power minus 7 meter. And remember here, once this incident alpha particles fall on the gold foil, thereby they get scattered, and they get scattered into a different directions, and that scattered alpha particles I am represented here, and this is the initial path of the alpha particle. So here theta is called as scattering angle. And remember, so in the path of scattered alpha particle, there will be a one detector, and this is a rotable detector it is. So we can rotate in all directions. So such rotable detector is provided with zinc sulfide screen. What is the use of the zinc sulfide screen? This zinc sulfide screen will produce a bright flashes of scattered alpha particle. So if it produces a bright flashes of alpha particle, then it is very easier to count the number of scattered alpha particle corresponding to this particular scattering angle theta. So what is the question? What is the concept here? There is a source, and that source is gone emitting an alpha particle of energy 5.5 MeV, and that alpha particles are made into a narrow beam by passing through the lead slits. Such energetic alpha particles are made to incident on gold foil, thereby they scattered into different direction, and that angle we call as scattering angle, and later on I will tell the definition here. So then they get scattered into different direction, and that scattered alpha particles can be observed with the help of this detector. Remember, detector is provided with microscope. Fine. Now when they incident here, they get scattered into different direction, and that scattered alpha particles can be observed with the help of this microscope. And I want to count the number of scattered alpha particle corresponding to this theta, corresponding to some another angle, corresponding to some another particular angle. So at the time, the zinc sulfide screen helps us. So this zinc sulfide screen is attached with the detector with microscope. So this zinc sulfide screen will produce some bright flashes. So when you observe, when you incident some light on a particular that is shiny surface, you will observe that the bright flashes. Okay, so you will observe that bright flashes you are observing. So like that, here also scattered alpha particle will produce some bright flashes or scintillations on this zinc sulfide screen, and we can count those scintillations or that is bright flashes for different scattering angle theta here. So what is this scattering angle theta? So scattering angle theta may be defined as it is the angle of, so scattering angle. So scattering angle may be defined as scattering angle theta is defined as the angle of deviation of alpha particles from their initial path. Scattering angle means it is the deviation angle. Actual path of alpha particle was like this, but they get deviated. So angle of deviation, the angle of deviation of alpha particles from their initial path is called scattering angle theta. Now the graph was plotted by the person Geiger and Marsden. Actually Rutherford was carried this experiment with Geiger and Marsden. So Geiger and Marsden, they have studied this experiment by taking the suggestion of Rutherford, and then they calculated the number of alpha particles scattered for different scattering angle theta, and then they plotted one graph. So that graph I would like to plot right now. Just you can go through that graph. Along y-axis they have chosen number of scattered alpha particles or number of scattered alpha particles. Number of scattered alpha particles versus scattering angle. Scattering angle. This is theta. Number of scattered alpha particle versus scattering angle theta. They plotted an experimental curve here. This is the experimental curve. So scattering angle was initially 0 and they have taken up to 180 degree. So why they have taken 180? What is the importance of this graph? That I would explain in my next class. Thank you.